change before we pick up the girls. Okay.
Back in 2001, Chevrolet introduced a new pickup called the Avalanche that was based on their Suburban platform, but with a pickup bed where the third row should be. It had a clever divider called a midgate between the bed and cab that could be lowered to allow the bed to extend into the cab. But it also had lots of obnoxious body cladding, so obnoxious that thankfully it could be deleted just 2 years later. Then there was GM's decision to not offer a GMC Twin, and instead offer the same platform to Cadillac, to become the luxury marque's first full-size pickup, although it wasn't their first pickup. This is the story of the Chevrolet Avalanche, and its over-the-top Cadillac Twin. This is my old car.
The world's first reconfigurable luxury SUT. Cadillac Escalade EXT.
Although the Avalanche and Cadillac Escalade EXT were discontinued in 2013, if you've seen the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV, you may think the Avalanche has been resurrected. The Silverado EV has the same flying buttresses that flank the rear window, as well as the midgate between the bed and cab. This isn't the only GM truck with the midgate, as it was also in two long since discontinued trucks, the GMC Envoy XUV and Hummer H2 SUT. The latter really needed the midgate since its bed was otherwise too small to be of any real use, ironic considering how big the Hummer H2 was. The Envoy XUV also had the midgate to make its truck bed bigger, although it was an enclosed truck bed with a retractable roof. That one was so weird it made my list of weird GM cars. The midgate became the only reason for the Avalanche to even exist, as otherwise it would just be another four-door pickup, which GM already had with the Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra, which were new for 1999. The midgate allowed for both a long cab and a long bed, just not at the same time. When the midgate was up, the bed was 5.3 feet long, but with the midgate down, the bed extended to over 8 feet long, thereby allowing for the universal measuring stick for trucks, the 8 by 4 feet sheet of plywood. The midgate was designed to be opened with the glass remaining in place, so that along with the bed cover, the entire space could be fully enclosed. Or the glass could be removed separately, with or without the wall behind the seats lowered. To help improve aerodynamics, and to help prevent air from flowing back into the open midgate, flying buttresses were added behind the cab and above the bed. This ability to extend the truck bed meant that the Avalanche could not have the most common feature of a pickup, a separate cab and bed.
You want to switch? Yeah.
GM's full-size pickup platform at the time was the GMT 800, and variations of this platform, the 820 and 830, was used for their full-size SUVs.
Good idea.
The Avalanche would be based on a variation of the GMT 830 platform, which was for the Chevy Suburban, GMC Yukon XL, and the then-new Cadillac Escalade ESV. To make sure the Avalanche stood apart from the Silverado, the front fascia of the Avalanche had its own unique front headlamp design, although that same design would become standard on the Silverado a year later. But the biggest difference visually was the gray plastic lower body cladding on the Avalanche, which at the time I couldn't help comparing to the 2001 Pontiac Aztek. I'm sure the thought here was that the plastic cladding made both vehicles look more rugged and outdoorsy, but in the case of the Aztek, it was so quickly reviled that Pontiac made the cladding body-colored by the following year. However, for the Avalanche, this cladding became a different problem for owners than just being unattractive. The plastic in the Avalanche cladding tended to fade and discolor with too much sun exposure, even after just a few months. This same plastic was used for the flying buttresses that extended from the cab, so they also aged far too quickly. It got so bad that Chevrolet offered a one-time treatment that they called Armor-Dillo, but that too only lasted about 6 months. So they finally came up with a more permanent solution, partnering with a company called Gator Back Coatings. GM only offered this when the truck was still under factory warranty, so anyone who neglected to get this done early on was out of luck. Even CEO Rick Wagoner stated his dislike for how bad the plastic cladding looked, which led to a change in 2003 to offer the Avalanche, as they called it, without body hardware, or WBH. This WBH option would become popular enough that body cladding was gone for the second-gen models in 2007. Under the hood, you could get the same 5.3-liter V8 that the light-duty Silverado 1500 had, or you could upgrade to the 8.1-liter V8 that was in the Silverado 2500 heavy-duty. However, the heavy-duty Avalanche couldn't have the body cladding deleted. Not sure what the reasoning was for this, although the heavy-duty didn't sell as well as the light-duty, which in turn is likely why the 2500 series Avalanche was dropped following the end of the first gen in 2006. When it came to trucks, prior to the debut of the Avalanche, it was a GM standard to have every Chevrolet truck be paired with a twin for the GMC division. The Avalanche would break from that tradition in an unusual way, not just by having no GMC version, but instead offer a version for Cadillac, the Escalade EXT. Car and Driver magazine's review of the 2002 Escalade EXT summed it up best by saying, The Escalade EXT is Cadillac's answer to the Avalanche. Not that anyone at Chevrolet actually asked the question. Cadillac had recently begun a serious rebranding effort, which started with the 1999 Escalade, Cadillac's first SUV, essentially a warmed-over Chevy Tahoe, as Cadillac needed to get something out quick to compete with the hot-selling Lincoln Navigator.
Escalade, it's good to be the Cadillac.
Once the GMT 820 platform began in 2000, an upgraded Escalade was in the works, but didn't debut until 2002, and shared Cadillac's new angular styling that also debuted with the new CTS compact sedan. In addition to a longer Escalade, the ESV, that shared the Chevy Suburban's GMT 830 platform, it apparently wasn't a big stretch to consider the Avalanche could also be a Cadillac. To make the EXT more exclusive, it was offered with a higher output 6-liter V8 as compared to the Avalanche's 5.3-liter V8. It also had plenty of body cladding like the Avalanche did, but on the Cadillac it was all body colored, which at the time was a not uncommon and relatively inexpensive way to make a vehicle look special, but admittedly it looks a bit dated today. This was Cadillac's first full-size pickup, but Cadillac had previously experimented with smaller car-based pickups, although never built as pickups from the factory. In 1975, Cadillac worked with a California-based customizing company called Traditional Coachworks to convert the two-door Cadillac Coupe de Ville into the Mirage pickup, reworking everything behind the B-pillar to create what seemed more like a Cadillac El Camino.
That's Spanish for the Camino,
which ironically was the name of a one-off Autorama show car from 1954, but it wasn't a pickup. Exact production numbers for the Mirage are unknown, but guesstimates put it around 240 across both the 75 and 76 model years. Low sales was probably not just because few people saw the need for a Cadillac pickup, but also because of the price, at around $20,000, as a conversion doubled the cost of a loaded Coupe de Ville. That would be well over $100,000 today. Although sales of the Avalanche started out fairly well, rising to over 93,000 in 2003, by the end of the GMT 850 run in 2006, sales had dropped around 55,000. Numbers for the Escalade EXT were far less, topping 13,000 in 2002, but that was far better than its only real rival, the 2002 Lincoln Blackwood, which earned a #1 spot on my first sales flops video. However, the EXT couldn't maintain the same level of sales each year, and dropped to only 7,000 in 2006. By this point, Lincoln tried again with the Mark LT, which sold far better than the Blackwood, and several thousand more than the Escalade EXT did in its first couple years. But the Lincoln sales dropped faster, and was gone by 2009. And although not a direct competitor in the luxury pickup truck market, Honda started offering the Ridgeline pickup in 2005, with a similar integrated bed and cab design, although without a midgate. Instead, its unique feature was a lockable trunk below the bed. Considering the financial condition GM was in during the mid-2000s, the fact that both the Avalanche and Escalade EXT were not canceled is surprising for such low numbers. But instead, when the GMT 900 SUV platform debuted for 2007, the Cadillac was brought back along with the Avalanche. Unlike the first model year Avalanche from 2002, which tried hard to look different than the Silverado, the 2007 Avalanche looked a lot like the Silverado, complete with no body cladding. But lower sales of the heavy-duty 2500 version of the first-gen Avalanche meant it was no longer available for the second-gen. Sales of both the Avalanche and Escalade EXT in 2007 were only slightly higher than the previous year. However, considering the U.S. was heading into one of its worst recessions ever, that probably was a considerable factor. GM was also approaching bankruptcy, so the fact that both models survived not just through the GM bailout, but also for the entire run of the GMT 900 platform through 2013, is shocking when looking back today. Sales of the Avalanche by 2010 had dropped to around 20,000, which wasn't terrible, but the Escalade EXT had dropped to only around 2,000 that same year, and yet it survived. My only guess on why the EXT wasn't discontinued sooner was that all the Escalade models were helping to bring in younger and more hip customers to Cadillac, and the EXT was the most extreme-looking Escalade of them all. Not surprisingly, when the GMT 900 ran its course, there was no new version of the Avalanche or Escalade EXT planned for 2014. Today, in 2024, both of these trucks, especially the Cadillac, are getting harder to find, and their unique midgate design is only just coming back, and so far only in an EV. Over the years, there have been computerized renderings of what the Cadillac pickup could look like on modern truck platforms, but there's probably zero chance General Motors would ever consider it again, which is a shame, because I've always been a sucker for weird cars, and this one definitely fits the bill. Thanks for watching.
What the fuck is this man?
Austin Powers.
Doc said Michael Myers.
This is Mike Myers.
If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you once owned a car from the 80s to mid-2000s that you barely see today, and would like it featured in a future episode, leave a reply in the comments, or contact me at the email shown here. See you next time.
Yes!